I've climbed into a tree for this one. I'll show you around. One thing I've been thinking about recently is that just how powerful the ego is at taking over no matter what you're doing, especially when you come on the quote-unquote spiritual path, although I fucking hate that phrase. I don't know what else to call it. The seekers, the way. Once you've found the way to an extent, the ego just finds so many other ways to manipulate and corrupt something that could be pure. And 2 seconds of slacking internally in your awareness and you're gone and you're lost back in the ego, back in trying to become this big person, try to become this fucking important person. Like for me, for example, just to lay down the groundwork, the main thing is that, you know, on this path, what I've discovered that has alleviated all the suffering for me in my life has been to de-identify with myself as Jack, to not live through an identity, but to live as pure awareness that experiences itself through the physical body and the personality that some people have come to know as Jack. That's, in essence, the secret of, I think, all spiritual books, holy books, scriptures, and resting in this pure awareness that sits behind everything is pretty much all that matters. Learning how to do that, because then everything else sorts itself out. And so the biggest thing that gets in the way is this thing called the ego, which is basically the identity that we've come to know of ourselves. The identity of Jack, the identity of Mikey, or fucking Michala, or Brinda. Because the main idea being that your pure awareness is limitless. When you rest in it, you can't see where it begins and where it ends. But your identity and your ego is limited. So by living in the ego, you neuter your powers or what's possible for yourself. You limit yourself, and the shape of those limitations are your perception of reality through yourself. Your perception of reality through the prism of you. That's a very limited place to be, especially if you don't know much. Even if you know more, it's still very limited. Even if you're the richest man in the world and you have all the worldly possessions and the beautiful wife and all this, it's still a pittance, I believe, because how can I know? I'm not there. So I've been told by people who I believe have found it, the real truth. That is still a pittance in comparison to the limitlessness of a pure awareness, which is the one, or unity, or whatever you want to call it, the source, truth. But the thing is that the ego, it's a crafty wee cunt. It's a sleek wee bastard, as we would say in Scotland. And it's getting a bit bright here, is it? It's a sleek wee cunt, as we would say in Scotland. And what that means is that it will find any way, even within the quote-unquote spiritual journey of trying to dissolve the ego, it will find ways sneaky ways, to fortify itself. For example, for me, I went and did ayahuasca a bunch of times. And then in my mind, I created this identity through the ego of becoming the guy who has done lots of ayahuasca. And I was walking around in my mind and being like, yeah, I've tried to get ayahuasca 24 fucking times. I'm a big shot. I know a lot here. Everyone, gather round, listen to me. I'm the fucking man. I know everything. I'm wise. I'm a genius. I've tapped into the mainframe. I've hacked into the mainframe. And I was lost in that for a while as well. And then I decided to sort of really commit to this path and leave the material world stuff I was building, the business, the travels, whatever, and come to India and really attempt to do nothing where the motivation comes from me trying to tinker with the external world. Be that going to the gym to get ripped, be that getting rich, be that, you know, I don't know, skincare, like whatever. Some of these things I was doing anyway, so I just kept doing them. But in terms of adding new things onto my life, and even then, within that, my ego then became like, oh, look at me. I'm the guy who's really committed to this spiritual path. I'm the guy that's willing to give up everything. I'm pretty fucking amazing. I'm pretty great. Everyone listen to me. I'm pretty great. Aren't I fucking something? And yeah, I can just see how every single time I try to do something, the mind or the ego then comes and finds its own way to turn this into something which is going to stop you getting to where you want to get to, which is true freedom, which is dissolving the ego, which is living from a place of pure awareness, where you're just in the world. And you're like, oh, if I don't live as Jack, and I'm just sitting in this tree, oh, those birds are pretty amazing. Look at the green, look at the sunset, listen to that. Isn't this fucking marvellous? And that's basically where you should be. But the thing that stops you getting there is the fact that you're constantly preoccupied with yourself. And there are many pitfalls, as I've discovered on this path, but it's just a constant journey for me of constantly being vigilant to the games that the mind's playing, to the identities that the ego might be crafting that I have to dissolve time and time again. Oh, look, I'm the marketing guy that's making loads of money. Oh, now I'm the spiritual guy, the ayahuasca guy, everyone gathering in and listen to me. Oh, now I'm the guy that's really committed and is giving up all the material stuff. Like, everything, there's always something that you're trying to become, that your ego wants to become. And whenever you're in this state of becoming, of I'm going to become this big person, I'm going to become great, I'm going to become, you know, intelligent, I'm going to become rich, you've missed the point completely. And I'm speaking from much personal experience, and this is something that I still deal with to this day, again and again and again. Although the ego is getting continuously less powerful, I'm hesitant to talk about these things publicly because it's quite a departure from what I talk about with most people in my life. Most of the time it's just pints and football. Well, not most of the time, but sometimes. And to be fully candid about all this stuff is actually quite difficult, it turns out. But I guess I'm going to keep doing it because it seems like I don't have a choice. Because when I didn't do it, I was miserable. And now I'm doing it, I feel a lot more invigorated. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. Love and light and all that shite.